I'm starting this episode laughing for a good reason. You'll see in just a second. Hey everybody, what's up? I'm Chase. Welcome to another episode of the Chase Jarvis Live Show here on Creative Live. You guys know the show. I sit down with awesome humans with the goal of unpacking their brains to help you live your dreams, whether that's career or hobby or life. My guest today, he's a writer and actor. You will definitely know him as the star. He plays Richard in HBO hit series Silicon Valley. My guest is Thomas Middleditch. Good day, sir. Enchanté.
Yes.
Et vous?
Oui, toujours.
I finished all my French.
I'm pretty close to the end of mine, too.
Welcome to the show, man. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So off camera, we were before,
Off camera, we had a pretty lengthy diatribe. I was getting into it.
We were talking about Canada, though. They just changed their national anthem today, and you're Canadian.
Yeah.
What are your feelings?
I think that's great.
Yep, they changed two words.
Yeah, what are the two words? I know sons got turned into ours or us or
something like that.
I was just listening to the old NPR story.
Yep.
I think it's great, man. Anyway, why are you holding on to that?
That's right.
This is a perfect example of why humans hold on to stupid shit.
Yep.
If anyone's upset about it, they're like, it should be sons because that's what we want. A, the anthem has been changed over time before.
Yes.
But B, what if you're not a son? Now you're excluded from the anthem, and I know it's semantics, but it's important to other people.
Right.
And what are you fighting for? Are you fighting for the
Sexism?
old world of sexism? Yeah.
Right.
You want gender
But Canada made the right decision today, right?
I think it's great
Yes.
in the face of all this bullshit that
Yep.
we have here.
Yep.
And a president who grows, his troll power goes stronger from dividing and saying stuff that ruffles your feathers and divisive and all this kind of stuff that you just have to shut out. There's this little country, not so little, second biggest in the world, to the north that is kind of just being like,
rocking it.
Sorry, here,
You guys are crushing it.
Yeah, well, it's a very courteous nation. It is. I mean, a lot of stereotypes are true. They're very nice. There's this. My critique of Canada is there's this sentiment, and it's both the best thing about it. It's the best thing about it, but also the reason kind of why I like spending time in America is there's this courteous, don't rock the boat mentality. Just keep your head down and go to work and just do your thing.
No tall poppies.
Just no tall poppies, right?
Yeah.
But down here, everyone's like, get out of my way! That money's mine! I'll get all the money!
You're pretty good at that, actually.
Everyone wants to be the money man.
So Canada, check. We
Yeah.
covered Canada on the show here.
Big bottle of
Yeah,
dog
he's
right
making
now.
hundreds.
Brought my own. No, I'm just kidding.
Super glad to have you on the show. We've had Amanda Crew on the show
Never
before.
heard of her.
Love her. Never heard of her. Amanda, thank you for the introduction and being the awesome human that you are. Congrats on the show.
Thanks.
Epic success.
One of the biggest successes to come out of television since MASH. We are compared to MASH a lot, too, which is, I think, weird.
So, did you think you were onto something before you started? And again, I don't watch very much TV. So my wife likes all the shows.
Okay.
She is good at
What
watching
TV do you watch?
The only show. This is the
Only
truth.
show?
This is
I have a few amount of shows,
Okay.
but I don't. I have more than one.
This is a confession, right?
Okay.
And the only show that I actually make sure to watch in the season specifically is Silicon Valley, and that's no bullshit. That's not ass kissing. I have been invited to all the premieres just because I know some folks.
Oh yeah.
And
Connected.
the line that you guys lined up on stage, all just doing this for 45 minutes in pure chaos. It's pretty fucking good.
Well,
but
yeah.
So, did you think that Silicon Valley was going to be a thing, or did you when you started, or
No.
no?
I never think something that I'm a part of is going to be a thing. It's much safer to think like that. You are in for a world of hurt in this business if everything you do, you're like, I think I'm going to be The Rock Johnson after this. Who is, in my mind, I guess, the most famous.
Yeah, but I think he's the highest paid.
He's
too.
the highest paid. He's such big muscles.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I mean, it came about so randomly too. The tale goes, so says the legend, that I came here from New York to LA to work on an animated show, which I had sold to MTV under the tutelage of John Altschuler and Dave Krinsky, who have worked with Mike Judge on many a thing. And Mike Judge's Beavis and Butthead was coming back to MTV, so we were going to pair these together. And as Dave Krinsky and John Altschuler were working with me on the show, they said, hey, we are working with Mike Judge on this new comedy show about programmers for HBO, and we think you'd be great for the lead, so we're going to write it with you in mind. I said, yeah, right. But sure enough, the script came along, and Richard's character was initially called Thomas Pickering, which I told them was my mom's maiden name, which is true. And
is this lore?
This is hearsay.
Okay, total hearsay.
It cannot be confirmed.
Okay, or denied.
And then I still had to audition, but I did have a leg up, and so. But even in that,
was your name.
Yeah, but even in that process, I thought this is all a joke, right? Because you never believe. You can't believe. Because this business is about, here, do you want cake?
Yeah.
And then they smash it in front of you. You're like, you fucking idiot, I was never gonna give you that cake.
And over.
Look at your face, you thought you were gonna eat cake today. Idiot. That's what this business is.
So you
So even when I got it, when we're shooting it, I'm like, no one's gonna find this as
no one's gonna pay me.
Yeah. This is gonna be Mike Judge's flop somehow, yeah. But no, turns out that's not the case.
Turns out,
people like it.
Super good. And I shared just briefly, so I went to the original premiere, tell me if you remember it the same way I do, was actually in Palo Alto.
True.
Which is a very weird place to have a premiere.
100, but fitting.
Okay, so the people, I also have a startup in Silicon Valley, so I got to be a part of that thing. There we go.
A dorkazoid.
So in the audience, in the audience were a lot of the people that you make fun of in the series were actual guests, and it was a very small audience. I remember we were seated at little
Musk
tables.
Was there.
Yes, Elon was there. I think Peter was there, Peter Thiel. It was, I was like hanging with the peeps.
Yeah.
I was probably the dirtiest dirtbag invited.
Yeah,
However,
but you are a notorious scumbag.
And Mike came out before, was like, hey, I don't know how you guys are gonna take this. I hope you love it. What I was watching was LA and Silicon Valley get smashed together. There was a red carpet with step and repeat, and no one from San Francisco knew what to do. For those of you who don't know, step and repeat is that wall with all the logos on it where you take pictures like this.
And they call it a step and repeat is because you step into something and then you maybe had an interview or take some photos and you step and repeat.
For the next network or the next camera or whatever.
The next thing. So, and all those things, those clips that you see of people, it's a good movie, you get asked the same questions, and
you just pretend you're saying it for the first time. So this is happening, but it's happening in San Francisco, and even Palo Alto is a teeny little, like very expensive suburb, and no one knew, like, what is this thing, what to do. I watched all these people not know how to behave, and it was quite funny. And then Mike takes the stage.
Yes.
And says, I don't know, I hope you guys like it. There's a lot of, and I remembered then you played 2 episodes.
Correct.
And then there was a Q&A with you guys afterwards.
Correct.
And then after they were interviewing, Elon, what do you think? Peter Thiel, what do you think? And they're like, these guys, we really are out to change the world. We don't. And I was like, you guys, if they're making fun of you, that means it's working. This is like, that you celebrate when people tease and make fun. And they were literally like sort of heartbroken a little bit that you guys made fun of Silicon Valley.
But yeah, that's worn off now.
Yes. And now they're like,
I think they're
I don't know
all
if you've seen
board.
me, I got a cameo.
Yeah, that's worn off. At one point we were the new kid on the block. But look, I give Silicon Valley some credit because like turning most cars into electric cars is changing the world, or whatever.
Yes.
I'm now investing in the old SV2, in the world of tech.
Ooh, you're an angel.
I'm an angel. And so I think some things are trying to change the world, but it's funny when that's earnestly applied to things like
payments,
social media, or that is changing the world, but I would argue for the worse.
Right.
Or we do a joke on it, but I can't remember. It was like we are making the world a better place through like subliminal hard drive reacquisition of data via the cloud or something. It's
That's
like nonsense.
actually the opening of season 1 when the Kid
at
Rock.
At the party, yes, at Kid Rock.
I've been to 100 of those parties.
They're
Kid
fun.
Rock performs and no one's like, they're not even paying attention to Kid Rock is just like just stops and walks off stage and the party doesn't change at all.
No.
It was paid handsomely, I'm sure, at that time. But
Sure. And
so,
for our show too. You really got away with it.
God. So you didn't think it was going to be, well, you're like professionally skeptical,
Naturally.
which is probably a self-preservation. But here you are.
Here I am, king of the world.
It took over, took off.
Downtown LA. Doing a
Here we go.
3-camera shoot.
That's right.
With someone I just met.
Tell me, yeah, that's like, how is it weird? Like you have to do a bunch of stuff, and this isn't, required by any stretch. But what part of it is, are the parts that you love? Because I think if anyone's watching from outside, they're like, oh my God, you made it. Oh, everything's cool. So what parts of it do you love, and what parts of it don't you love?
Well, perspective changes pre and post fame. Even though I would call I can't imagine what it's like for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, for example. Wherever he goes, he has to have an entourage of security and handlers and stuff like that because it's too much of a splash for him to just walk down the street.
Yeah.
So at my level, it's functionable, but you kind of just get reminded of it from time to time. It is weird. I felt like I was being groomed a little bit for it because I would do comedy, live comedy, and occasionally someone would come up to me like, "Oh, I saw you at UCB last Saturday. So funny, dude." And and that's great, right?
Yeah,
you practice being earnestly gracious, which is so weird to say, but that's like a thing that you actually have to do because I remember going up to people that I like and being like, "I like your work," and if it was anything less than "Thank you so much," it was just like, "Thanks, man," I'd be like, "Oh," but even though he's not, even that person's totally fine. They're doing their own thing.
Yeah.
But it's so weird. It leaves you with this bizarre taste in your mouth, so I try to make a habit of saying at least thank you, and then I say no, get the fuck out of here, you fucking squirrel, you goddamn cockroach, and then I go back to knitting silk. Anyway, but so there's just change. It's like the idea. I get why Britney Spears shaved her head, in the sense that and because, again, hers was dialed up, but like I have it a microcosm of just the idea of walking around and being known, being spotted, being this, and not being spotted. You walk by someone, and they just take out their phone. You think they're maybe taking out their phone and be like, who is that again? I just saw, what's his name? Or they're just taking out their phone.
Yeah.
They're doing a text, and you're like, I got spotted. And it doesn't matter, right? But it turns you into a bit of like a cuckoo caca, a dum-dum. It's just... It's weird. There are like privileges and perks, and there's also a weird thing like I've learned that Verizon is polarizing.
You're responsible for net neutrality.
I'm
Thomas.
responsible for net neutrality. Nothing to do with the recent election. It's all me, and I've also learned that people are very tribal about their telecommunications providers. So like people will troll my comments feed on Instagram, which is the only thing I have anymore, and just be like, "Fuck you, Sprint!" And I'm like, "Why do you care?" Fucking Cricket Mobile, Cricket Wireless. Why are you passionate about that?
Go to the things that you love about the thing that you've created with a handful of other talented people. I think it's an amazing series, and I feel like I've lived the shit that you guys, the storylines. Painful. That's a credit to the writers and Alec Berg, who's now the showrunner. Alec Berg is the unsung hero of this show. And you guys have you have some consultants.
We have consultants. Yes. We want to try and every time that I've been told I'm not allowed in the writers' room, mainly because I smell on purpose. I don't want my butt as a power move. But I'm told that whenever they're sort of stumped, for what to happen, the solution is always what would really happen. Like what. So they mine their consultants for stories or plausible ways out to the little box that they've written themselves into. Yeah. So.
But what do you love about it? Clearly, like it's created. Do you love the story? Do you love the craft? Like what is it?
Okay. I'll say this because I'll try and attach it also to other things from that initial question. For anybody who on the bottom looking up, the anxiety about your life in entertainment never goes away. Before you're on the bottom looking up saying, when will it happen to me? And when you get above water, you're like, when will this go away? Right? But out
of a fear, right? Not like I hate it, but like it's just temporary, it's fleeting.
Both, man. Yeah. There are days when you have to remind yourself that this work has to be work sometimes, and it can't always
Remember
be
why you started.
super fun.
Yeah.
It can't always be playtime with pals. Like some days are work. Some days, like some projects, some things are just hard.
Yeah.
Or compromising, or decisions are financially based as opposed to anything else. Some things are just weird.
Yeah.
And you just got to go, this is part of the gig, or pull a Daniel Day and be a cobbler. There's all ways to do it. I don't know if but then there's also, you get exhausted. Like I'm at a weird point where I'm like, I still want to act, and I'll definitely perform comedy until I can't, until my brain is addled because of all the MDMA I take. But I'm sort of like, I would like to try behind the camera stuff. I would like to try maybe directing, or I definitely want to get back into writing and creating and stuff like that. So it's just weird. But the show in itself is great.
Yeah.
It is. I feel like I went to Vegas and rolled 6s. Is that a thing?
I think it's...
On craps? How do you get a craps? 7 on the first go. That's how you win.
Right, and then if you roll after that, then you're
That's craps.
done. Right.
I walked by a craps table, and as someone was... I was just walking by. Someone was rolling. I went craps, only because I was like, that's a craps table.
Yeah.
Then he rolled it, and it came up craps.
And everyone
Satan. Lost their money, and people turn around, and one woman said, "You can't say that. What the fuck are you doing?" And I was like, "It's just identifying the game." So embarrassing.
Noticing from 10 feet away that you were playing a game?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's not the word to say. There's so many other words. You could say, "Oh, a dice-based game
You
of
went
chance."
to Vegas and you won.
Yeah. I mean, not only am I finally working on a show, it's on HBO, which has been a bucket list of mine.
Yeah.
Mike Judge, Alec Berg, these are the people who are in charge. I work with comedians and actors that some of them I've known for over 10 years. Actually, one of the writers, this guy Graham Wagner, I worked with him in Canada, in Toronto, doing like underground sketch comedy. It's just, I say that not as a slight to anything else, but sometimes you're on a comedy and you're with people who are maybe there just because they have timing, and that's great, that's awesome. But I perform with some of these guys.
Yeah.
It's cool. That's great. That's a very fortunate situation. And fortunately, people like it. And HBO's kind to us. And they're very flexible, and they're good, and it's a great schedule, and we can pursue other things in the rest of the year. It's a very, very good gig. I don't think I'll have another gig on television like as good as this.
So clearly you don't take it for granted, just by the words you're saying. And is that the right MO, you think, is it? And
I think that's pretty important.
Yeah,
I have to remind myself of that sometimes.
Okay. So. Yeah, in your world, and I think I'm always trying to take the examples that you're giving, or any guest, and like, it's so weird, there's some pretty common themes, like this thing that you have right now, whatever it is, be grateful, because you don't know what the other side of that same coin is.
Yeah.
And specifically in Hollywood, I gotta think that with just the odds, it's gotta be tough.
You are always looking over your shoulder. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
You try and stay in your lane and run your own race and not look at who so-and-so's doing and this and that. It's impossible. And even if tomorrow I was suddenly the lead of a crazy Marvel movie, say I'm the next Spider-Man, I would be like, in the middle of filming, I'd be like, yeah, but when am I gonna finally work with Wes Anderson or Quentin Tarantino? What is this? You'd find something wrong, you'd look to the next thing, and you'd want that. It's such a business of coveting, because it's not a thing where you just show up to work every day and kind of that it's allotted, which sometimes I crave, But also at the same time, at least the anxiety brings a sort of dynamicism that shakes up life, I suppose. Yeah. But it's an interesting world. That's why a lot of actors and whatnot and people in this business have various different hobbies or other things that bring them passion. That's what I've learned to do. For me, it's like environmental activism and being a pilot. I'm a private pilot, so which sometimes don't go hand in hand. I do carbon offsetting. I do. I plant trees as a result. But
I fly gliders.
Yeah. So I don't know.
No, that's cool. I want to touch on those two things. I want to take a little right turn into comedy for just a second. So right before you were here, we recorded with Eugene Merman. He said to say hi.
Oh, cool.
And I'm infatuated with comedy because of its in the moment. I think the concept of improv is like improv as a sport or as training. I think it's an incredible skill. What got you interested in it? And is that, you know, was it comedy and performing on stage at comedy clubs that got you into acting in Hollywood? What was your path, and specifically connected to comedy?
Well, I was very fortunate. Well, I mean, in 8th grade, I had a drama teacher. I've always said if I ever win an award, I'll thank him, but looks like I'm not going to win one. No, but I would always thank the very first drama teacher I got, which was Ken Wilson in middle school, 8th grade. He just saw me, I think he saw like a weird, slightly ostracized kid. He didn't know to the extent of my bullying. I mean, I bullied other kids.
Clearly.
Fucked them up, man. All those gays.
Jocks.
That was yeah, all those jocks. Recently I was like talking to a friend who I grew up with, and he's got a kid that goes to the same school that we go, and he goes, you know, like gay isn't an insult anymore. I was like, what? That was like the big thing as a teen. You can't get called gay, and the first thing you call it, they're like, no, they're all super accepting. I'm like, God damn it, that'd have been great. Wouldn't that have been great? I hate that teenage mind.
Yeah.
Gay. Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's how brains work, I guess. That's a good thing to talk about on a show.
How brains work?
No, just like, remember getting called gay? Anyway.
Well, so if you were bullied and you're tighter, you're...
The guy, he saw something, he put me in a play, and I just had a great time. I was very fortunate to of all the small towns to have grown up in Canada. I grew up in a very artsy, weirdo town.
AKA Nelson.
AKA Nelson. A lot of hippies, a lot of pot smoke, a lot of raves. Been to a fair amount of raves. I know what jungle and drum and bass is. There was also, there's a lot of like school theater that was possible, and a lot of community theater that was possible, so it's definitely involved in that. And we also had a short form improv troupe that we kind of made. And in Canada, there's something called theater sports, which is like comedy sports here. It's like teams of short form games, and there's a ref, and they have rules and stuff like that. And you know, we would compete regionally and provincially and stuff.
Canadian? Like,
I think it's Canadian. Yeah, it's what happens when you have like well-funded public schools. Is that like there's arts, there's art.
Surprise!
Yeah, and like you can interconnect them and have all that kind of stuff. To say that in America there aren't, you know, school plays and drama festivals of some kind. But I mean, so maybe it's not like that in every Canadian town. But it wasn't where I was.
Competitive comedy.
Competitive comedy, competitive theater too. Yeah. But also super supportive. I mean, it's like that age group where if you get up on stage, people are like stomping the ground to be like, you did it, right? Because you know, that's all the drama geeks part. Anyway, so Ken Wilson got me into that, and that kind of gave all that weirdness focus. And you got positive reinforcement, because now that people thought of me as the funny guy, as the actor guy, within the end of that year, I was friends with all the kids that were bullying me, which in 8th grade, you're like, I don't care. Thank you for accepting. Yeah, I'll totally, hey, water on the bridge.
I'll forgive it. Yeah. I'll forgive you.
You know what, you were right. I was gay.
when you punched me in the face.
I was acting like a real queer balls, but now I'm not anymore. But then, you know, that translated into, you know, trying to maybe pursue theater in a more earnest way. I went to theater school, dropped out because I actually ended up meeting people that were just doing comedy, and I thought, oh, you don't have to go to school, you just go do it? Yeah. Because you're in a small town, you go to your guidance counselor, like, how do I be like kids in the hall? They're like, go to college.
Right, that's the answer to everything, basically, right?
Yeah, turns out that's not true. You can just go do it. And So. Went to Toronto, went to Chicago. I think, you know, yeah, I don't know. How detailed do you want this to be?
I want personal stories. I like, to me, let's focus on the going from bullied to not. And clearly you didn't transform as a person, but was it like a blossom? Like you found a thing that you connected with? So it was about you and your identity was very clear? Or was it a lack of identity? Like, what was it? I
don't know, you know, it's like a psychological experiment. I think it's like maybe permission by your peers to be weird. Yeah. Because I was always weird, but not accepted as that. But then when you're kind of like, when it's expected and when people have approved of your weirdness, then it's suddenly celebrated. I mean, I wasn't even really part of like social cliques. I had, by the end of it, I was kind of at least chums with most everybody. And in 12th grade at my school, valedictorian was kind of like a vote. So it was kind of like a popularity thing. You're looking at the year 2000 valedictorian at LV Rogers.
Y2K?
Yeah, Y2K.
Wow, that's once in a
thousand years. Yeah. Which is, ridiculous. But, just show you that sort of, as soon as you're allowed to be a class clown, that's what you were. But my comedy was never really that refined.
But did you do something?
Up until a certain point, I was like, I'm going to be Jim Carrey. So
did you do something?
Oh, yeah.
But did you do something in order to sort of snap into that? Was it a mental state, or did it just happen? Were you cultivating, or was it subconsciously?
I think
because there's a bazillion people who are listening. They're like, I need to figure out my place in the universe.
I think it's a collection of subtle social exchanges. At that level, at that age, in that demographic, you're talking about junior high or high school even, or maybe even earlier. I mean, I don't know if that could have come before. I don't know if I'd have just made these realizations when I was 4th grade. I could have saved myself years of torment. I have no idea. I wish I could give you the answer to sort of like, here's how you skirt out of being bullied. It sucked, but it's not like I'm glad it happened, but it certainly taught me some things about life. Like, I never want to do that to other people, and I hate it. I hate seeing it, and I don't like it when people do that, or corporations or entities. It's unsettling to me. But yeah, I mean, it's an exchange of. It's like I very specifically remember a moment being in that one play, and that. Which is, like, it's a play that I'm sure no one's ever heard. It's called I'm a Fool. I'm sure no one's ever heard of it because it's a play a public school can afford to, like, get the rights to, if they even have rights that you pay for, right? But in the beginning of it, there's this little exchange that me and the director, aka the drama teacher, sort of worked on, where I like peek out the curtain, get scared by the audience, do this whole like physical bit, and supportive middle school to high school drama geeks loved it. And the exchange of laughter, reaction, I do this, I get this response. I remember very specifically the very first moment looking out, get surprised, laughter, sitting there, behind the curtain before I go back again, being like, what was that?
Yeah,
that was crazy. Oh yeah, tingling, craziness. And I hadn't been in little things before, but it's like it never was that. And I think that clicks something within me, within my own mind of, oh, I have the ability. Yeah. Oh, I can do this. Oh, as long as it's in a situation where like, it's a performance now, it's okay. Or like, I can fall on my face and it's a good thing. Yeah. As opposed to something to be ridiculed because it's part of the thing, whatever. There's a confidence, and then the word gets out. Oh, who's funny, this guy. And it's, I guess I say it's like a series of little exchanges that sort of happen, because you may be able to argue that it happens even in adult life, where someone's like, I'm pretty wacky, and they think they're pretty funny, but the exchange hasn't happened, and it's not agreed upon. Yeah. So instead of being a funny person, they're actually kind of an obnoxious person. Yeah. And speaking as a post-school, I've had to comedically break into Toronto, Chicago, New York, and LA, all those different scenes. Each one progressively a tiny little bit more leg up, but like having to prove myself in various improv and stand-up communities. Yep. And you kind of have to start over again, and that's the thing. It's like people can hear that you're good, but you have to show them, and they're not going to just give you the chance just right off the bat. You always have to prove yourself, and the big thing is, I think the thing that falls under the moxie category, not the talent, not the looks, not the genes, but the moxie category, is not letting that intimidate you. The idea of like just accepting it, that's how it goes, and welcoming the challenge almost. Yeah. Over the years, I've looked at auditions at a totally different way. I used to dread them and hate them, and it's not like they're not my favorite thing, but instead of just sabotaging myself by under-preparing and this, that, now I view them as kind of like it's the buzzer beater shot, like this is clutch time, and I'm good enough to win it at the buzzer beater, right? You have a little bit of success in that, and you're kind of like, great, and you view them as a challenge, and I'm going to beat the challenge. Yeah. It's such a different outlook, and it helps so much. So I don't know. You can't get fazed by adversity in entertainment. Now you could probably believe that in other industries as well.
Sure.
In fact, you probably have to welcome it. And I don't know.
Was there anything that flipped in you? I mean, clearly something flipped, but what do you ascribe to the flipping, or is it just maturity, or did you make a conscious decision, like, this is what I want to do? Like, I'm big about sort of setting intention, and if you don't, you're sort of like corking the tide, and that's a tough place to be.
Wow, a couple things to that. Well, yeah, I think in this business you have to have maybe a little or a healthy dose of delusion when you're first starting out.
Yeah.
I'm a big adversary of delusion. Like, I don't like religion. I don't like all these things that alter what the reality is. However, if you're the little guy looking up at this huge mountain to be a working actor, or dare you say even a famous actor or a famous comedian, or you want to be known and recognized for whatever the cool thing you want to do, that's very difficult. There's a lot of other people that want to do that. A lot of people that are maybe worse than you, or different than you, but are ahead, whatever, right?
Yeah.
There's just this
Constructs of all that stuff, yeah.
There's obstruction. So you have to look at the odds when C-3PO is telling Han Solo the odds. Never tell me the odds, right? You're oblivious to them, and you think even if it's 1,000,000 to 1, you're the one, right? And throughout time, that confidence gets chipped away into the reverse. But when you're starting out, that's kind of what you need. It's just that delusion of it. And it's what helped me go from small town in Canada, just like packing my bags to Toronto, packing my bags to Chicago, initially coming in as an illegal. See, we need to build that wall on the other side.
That's right, danger.
And
have igloos everywhere.
Freaks like me coming down, taking your jabs.
So when you go from
and then
bigger,
New York and those,
so you go bigger to market and bigger markets. Was it the same? Like, certainly you have to prove yourself at each one of those things.
Oh, but confidence immediately. I mean, look. When I went from Toronto to Chicago. By the way, in Toronto, I was not accepted into Second City, and I was like arrogantly furious with them, like they're wrong. And then I auditioned to Second City in Chicago, and I got in, and I was like, cool. I'm moving to Chicago. I'll be on the main stage in maybe 6 months, and probably on SNL within a year, easy. Like, I thought that was 100% guaranteed. Naturally, that did not happen. I eventually did test for SNL, but that was quite some years later, and I did not get on the show.
I was going to say, I don't know you from SNL.
Yeah, as evidenced by the old IMDb page. Humility is a big thing. And not only did those things not happen, and various elements of success took a lot longer to happen, but I guess in hindsight, I was quite the arrogant little prick, because at one point, one of the improvisers at I.O., Improv Olympic, sat me down and was like, it's not good to be an asshole, and, give me this big story. And I walked with me like, fuck you, what do you know? And then,
a couple years later, you're like,
No, a week. Epiphany, you have to look, being a good human is about looking inwards and having hindsight and I don't know, perception. So, I did try and take that lesson to heart. But
you connected the dots. You went from Toronto to Chicago, New York.
New York, and I tell you, in New York, that was the biggest dip I've ever had in confidence, because I went there because I got like a holding deal. For people who don't know, holding deals is essentially in a network like pays money to be like, you're only going to audition for us this season. That's one way of it. So I got a holding deal, and then the season that I moved there was a writer's strike. So I got my money, but I didn't do anything, and I was just completely unemployed, and honestly took a babysitting job just to have something to do. And I had no friends, and I wasn't involved at UCB at that time. So I was just doing, my only friend was this 2-year-old little girl and her mom, and I would occasionally go to these underground comedy spots and do very like Kaufman-esque alienating comedy that I was like, I think I'm doing something cool, but most people aren't laughing. And that was it. And I was going absolutely crazy. And New York's one of those towns where some people go there and they're like, it's a hell of a town. Here I am, my home, finally. And they have a cigarette extender. And I was not that. I was like, it's so much. There's people everywhere and I don't know anyone. And when you're lonely, that constant reminder of like, get out of my way, prick. It's, it's a real kicker. And I had like, that was when I first started having anxiety attacks. I'd be calling my mom, crying and stuff. And, you know, there's been many times throughout the year of contemplating not doing this anymore, trying to do something else, all that kind of stuff. But serendipity and serendipity has a way of potentially coaxing you back onto the path. But I have my own philosophy about that if we want to get into it.
Yeah, we do. That's why we're here.
Okay.
Yes, you better sip some water.
I need a hit of this sparkling water as
San Pellegrino.
As evidence of my looming fame.
Mm-hmm. He's got the whole bottle. I only got a glass.
Yeah, and I'm not going to give you any more.
No,
you want one?
Yes, I'd like one, please.
Okay.
The philosophy, to be clear, where we're about to go, is your philosophy on serendipity.
Well, sure. Yeah. Okay. So there are things you can't control, right? Mm-hmm. You can't control your looks, and that sucks.
The weather.
Yeah, but in terms of your career, right, in this thing, in any of this thing, you can't control it. Well, you can control the looks, but I guess you have to spend money on it. But say you didn't want to. Sadly enough, you know, like that matters. Casting, whatever. Like if you're fucked up, it's going to be harder to be elite. Not impossible, but you may be the hunchback when they finally do the Notre Dame. It sucks. That's what it is. That's the biz, kid. If that fucks you up, if you're like, fuck that guy, you're not in the right business.
Okay. Right?
You have to look at it objectively. And I don't say that as someone who considers themselves a very handsome man. Well, believe you me. So there's things you can't control. There's talent, which I do believe is natural but cultivated. And then there's gumption, which is an acquired skill but inherent. And then there's serendipity. Now, serendipity is, this is from someone who doesn't subscribe to fate. I don't think there's preordained destiny. I don't think our lives are being writ in the cosmos. We are random things, and all that happens is a consequence of things that happened before it. So how do you deal with that? So serendipity is essentially a fancy word, more or less, for coincidence, I would say. But so there's this unknown thing that happens, and I think you increase the odds of the good things happening with your gumptions. To give you an example. From Chicago to New York, I was contemplating going back to Canada, doing something else, because I was like, I like improv, I love doing it here. People have liked my improv, you know, I think this career is about getting breadcrumbs. If you stop getting breadcrumbs, you're like, am I maybe not doing the right thing? I was getting breadcrumbs, but it was to what end? Like, I'm like, an illegal? Yeah. Like, I just got my visa, but like that only pertains to one job. When you get a visa, you can only do the one thing, and if it's not enough money, you're like, is this really what I want to live like? This is hard. So what am I gonna do? And then Second City had these. This is kind of like a long story. Is this too much?
No. This is why we're here, man.
Okay. But let me know if it's boring. I tend to be boring.
No.
Okay.
You're a comedian.
Yeah, but I'm not being funny. Okay. So Second City had this contract with Norwegian Cruise Lines where they had their Second City act on these cruise ships, right?
I see where you're going.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I took one of those gigs, to have that experience, and I'm so glad I did. 4 months at sea, one of the most absolutely surreal experiences, and we can just talk about that for a bit. Debaucherous, weird, surreal, lonely, happy. It was bonkers. I've since contemplated, like, God, that'd be cool to do like another 4 months, but I can't.
Good premise for a show, maybe.
Yes.
No, bad. Don't write that. Here we go.
They beat me to it. What are you gonna do?
So you're at sea.
I'm at sea, and so I start being at sea. The first week I'm at sea, the rumor is Lorne Michaels and Seth Meyers are coming to Chicago to see people that would maybe be on SNL. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm stuck here on this fucking thing. Are you fucking kidding me? So I make a huge stink, to the annoyance of anyone who was in charge of Second City at that time, Beth Klickerman, thank you. And they agreed to like figure out a schedule where I could fly myself out. So I like flew from Bermuda back to Chicago, was on a few shows that they saw, and did all this kind of stuff. Okay, as it all happened. It's stagnant for so long until the 4 months that I'm away on a cruise ship. So as that's happening, a manager, Kirsten Ames, who's now my manager, was looking for kind of funny weirdos to be a part of like a Sierra Mist campaign and asked Beth Klickerman at Second City, hey, do you know anyone who's like generating content? And this is before YouTube was a thing. No one had like fucking channels and stuff. And I had a bunch of shorts that were on there directed by Jordan Vogt Roberts, who just did Skull Island, and TJ Miller, and maybe a couple other, Chicago comedians. And we would stay up till 4 in the morning doing these shorts because we all had day jobs and we just were like, we had to hustle. We had to have the work ethic. We had to make stuff. And we did shorts with dead pigs. All I can say is I dumped a dead pig body in a dumpster at one point. That sticks with me. Anyway, she asked Beth, hey, who's doing stuff? My name comes up because it just so happens I'm doing stuff like that, right? And then she sees my things and goes, oh yeah, this kid is. So then I like land at New York, I walk off the boat, meet with her. Hey, do you want to sign with me? Yes, I'd love to. Great, let me get an agent for you, cool. Got a new agent, this was at William Morris before it came William Morris Endeavor, to prove that I'd just done a good move by signing to this agency. He needs to prove himself, right? That's what always happens. When you sign with an agent, they go, all right, and suddenly you've got like 4 months of shit to do, right? Yeah. But that's just so they can be like, look how big news we are.
Yeah, we did big stuff real quick.
Look how crush city we are. But he was in Fred's great. I'm not taking him down. Anywho, so that's all happening in between. I'm preparing to get to test for SNL because like I guess they like me. They want to bring me on. They want me to audition, like really audition. So I'm on the cruise ship working on my stuff, showing my friends these character auditions, and they're like, "It's good," and I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "You're wrong. I know it's whatever." Of course, I'm always right. And then, what am I trying to say? Okay, so I go off the boat, I go audition, I go test for SNL. It's such a bizarre process. Here's the summary. Okay. They come to you, they say, people aren't gonna laugh, don't take that personally. And then they keep you waiting for a while and you go on. And some people come off being like, oof, oh my God, that was tough. Yeah. I had a great time. People laughed, I had a fun time. Someone was like, stay by the phone. It didn't happen, but like it's a bizarre experience. It's tense, it's weird, you see people break, and also it's a bizarre situation where you're like, here's this character, you do it, here's this another character, and usually it's happening to people who are kind of relatively young in their comedy careers, so it's all that more scary. Yeah. Anywho, the agent, gotten by just doing shorts, remember, see all the things that beget the things? Yep. Now he's proving to himself, to me, that he's a good agent. In the overnight that I'm there to test for SNL before I have to go back on the ship, he sets up a bunch of general meetings where you just go into these casting directors, ABC, CBS, whatever, and meet them. Yeah, you're like, I'm this guy. I'm this guy. They're usually very dull, very inconsequential, it feels like, and you chat about nothing, and then you go home and you go like, why did I hoof it out there? That was so stupid. But I just happen to have this skateboard helmet attached to my bag, which is part of the costume piece for auditioning for one of my characters in the SNL audition. Every single one. What's that? I go, oh, it's my thing. And for some reason, because I thought the SNL thing went so well, I was in super confidence mode, and I was like, want me to do my characters and impressions for you right now? No. Yeah. No. Which, taken in another light, that could have been so awkward. That could have been such a fail. But it wasn't. They loved it. They're like, oh my God, wait, stop. I'm going to record it. And then and that's how I got that holding deal that brought me from Chicago to New York City. Wow. Point is, you just have to do. The doers, you can't stop them from doing. They make things, but you almost don't make it you make it to make it, and what comes out of it is the serendipitous element. Does that make sense? For sure, you don't do the work, there's zero chance. If you do the work, you still might fail, but if you don't do it work, there's literally no chance of you getting anywhere. Exactly, and there's no harm in saying, I'm gonna do this work because there's an angle and that's a thing that people want to see. That's fine, that's very tactical, that's great. But the fact is you're doing it, right? There's a lot of people, especially when I was starting out, I was surrounded with a lot of people who would lament that nothing's happening, right? Now things are different. Now I'm rubbing elbows with fancy fucks. I exclusively have a celebrity bottom line that I hang out with. No, I'm joking, but I want to make that clear.
Because you make it clear, you're here. to be crystal clear.
What are these? SLRs?
That's right. Hundreds. They cost hundreds.
I'm a hundredaire. But when you're amongst the kind of, the guys on the bottom rung, you see a lot of people who sort of lament that things aren't happening, but you go, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Nothing.
They say nothing,
You're passive. You cannot be passive. You can't. You be passive now. I'm finding I have the other situation where it's like, now that I've got this, I have to be more choosy with things. And I have to get reminded by my reps to be like, you don't take everything.
Yeah.
You have to be choosy now. It's weird. It's a weird feeling. It's unsettling.
Does that, so clearly it feels unnatural. When it feels unnatural, is that healthy or unhealthy? What if you had that same, I guess it doesn't make them want you. That's why you have a manager.
Yeah, it's healthy, because I if I'm honest, although as much as I want to work, you do it, you have a good run of multiple years back to back of solid work. There gets to be times where you're like, I could take a break for a second.
Yeah.
And your FOMO kicks in and says, no, you shouldn't take a break, but it's okay.
Yeah, but there's also, life is in seasons. We live in seasons.
Totally.
And it's dark for a reason, because you're not supposed to stay up all the time. We don't see very well in the dark.
100%. And you do know, at a certain level, you do know good to your career by doing bad work. By doing anything, you increase the chances of just sort of like, I don't know, just becoming awash in sort of mediocre shit. And
yeah.
Maybe some people like that. Some people just like in it for the money, for the recognition, whatever. I hope to leave a body of work that I'm proud of. And that's hard. That's very hard to do when you just sort of take everything. So it shifts.
So this is serendipity. You have a very clear philosophy about it. If you're not doing the work, it's not going to happen for you.
You increase your odds. That's all it is. You're just increasing your odds. I would come up with a great Vegas metaphor, but I think as evidenced by me going, craps! I don't do that very well.
I'll cut you off. I'll save you. I'll save you the pain.
But my metaphor is very stupid. I think of myself, think of oneself as an octopus. And I know this is not how octopi hunt or work. But you're floating in the ocean, and you've got 8 little tentacles, and they're floating around, and if you're not using all 8 tentacles, you don't have a higher chance of slurping onto something you're eating. But that's not how octopuses hunt. I know.
For real. It's different.
It's way
conceptually
different.
It works,
conceptually,
right?
Can't you just picture an octopus like
floating? Yeah.
Blip.
If your arms aren't out, you're certainly not going to hit anything.
If you're only using 3 arms, you're kind of a bad octopus. You're not a good one.
You could really use that with any animal, though.
Octopus is the only one that you can kind of use that with. Trust me, I've done a lot of research on this.
8 is the magic number.
8 is the maximum amount of appendages any creature can have.
So squid is not.
How many do a squid have?
Like 40.
Fuck.
Good research.
It's more like a jellyfish, really.
Yeah,
to take the floating analogy. But then it's more fun to be an
octopod.
Octopodio. Octopodotrite.
So I think I generally subscribe to that. I find that that's a pattern. If we can look at human behavior, that's a pattern that creates or helps create success. In your world, it increases your odds of serendipity, or it's hard work, whatever the thing is. Mm-hmm. What about when you've done that work and it goes shitty? How do you keep the headspace? Because it's a requirement. And I'm not saying it's easy, but clearly you've done it. You did it. You did the hard work long enough to like as you said, I'll say success, we'll say fame, we'll say there's some thread. Yeah. You've been working for a few years straight, and that's pretty good in your world.
Well, that's in that world, yes, where I've had success. I want to walk a line here because I think I've encountered people that have that delusion, right? The delusion that we talked about, they have it in fucking spades.
Okay.
And if I evaluate their place in the industry, I would, if they really wanted my honest opinion, I would say, I think you'd be a lot happier doing something else. Yeah. I don't think it's ever going to happen for you the way you want it to happen.
Yeah.
The current climate in the entertainment industry with so much streaming, so much internet, so much TV, there's a larger chance that you can just kind of at least get a few gigs to be in the game.
Yeah.
But there's And conversely, different side of the same coin, someone could say, hey kid, I don't think you should be in the game. They don't listen to them and they prove that person wrong. So I also want to hammer home the idea of like, fuck the haters, right? Yeah. However, you know, I've just seen people latch onto this idea of what they think the dream is. They've got no encouragement from any success to say from life to that person, you're doing it right. Mm-hmm. And their reasons and their perception of what it is at the top of the mountain is just not even correct.
Yeah.
That it's kind of like, and then they live a frustrated life and an anxiety-riddled life, and a life that's a bit angry. And you're like, you're not even happy. You don't even like this.
Yeah.
And you're not even clear on the things that you should be liking. So that's why I say that. But hardship's a part of it. How to bounce back from it? I don't know. I guess it's so weird. I feel like I'm so much more fragile after all this stuff.
Wow.
In early 20s, nothing could have kept me away from it.
Yeah.
But now, if I suffered some blow, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to do something else for a while. Or I don't know. Yeah. But maybe that's just like at peace. I have no idea. I don't know, or maybe because I know too much. You know, it's like I know. Well, that would be. Everything has to be more tactical, and you have to involve people and they help. I don't know, but maybe I'm not answering your question.
No,
maybe you need to repeat it.
No, you've been. It's all on.
On brand.
Yeah.
On brand for the show.
The brand of you and me asking you questions. Uh-huh. You talked about two other things. You talked about environmental activism and you talked about flying.
Sure.
The environmental activism, we talked earlier how easy it is to go down a dark hole because it's very...
outlook is not good.
Yeah, outlook dangerous. Is there some organizations that you're a part of that you are excited about? And is there some stuff you want to share about that? I know you've made some investments. We talked about that. I think in this particular climate here within these United States, at least for the next 3 years, it's going to be very hard to look to government to solve our issues, right? So it's going to be private sector, and it's going to be donation-based, primarily by means of education and litigation. To be honest, that's why I like groups like Sierra Club and NRDC. I do others, but they're larger entities that honestly tackle the problem with awareness and taking shit to court. Yep.
Which is super. All we can do now is stall as much as we can until we get someone who actually believes in science and facts and doesn't lie to us every single day.
Yep.
And
organizations in particular, I think.
NRDC and Sierra Club. Those are good ones because it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know, you could do Rainforest Action Network, the River People, Greenpeace. You could do a lot. There's great organizations out there. But I always find when I say, hey, donate, be a monthly member to something, a lot of people's response is that's easy for you to say you're a fucking Verizon guy, right? But and they're right. I do Scrooge McDuck into a swimming pool full of gold coins, but they're chocolate. I'm not going to break my fucking nose. It's guilt. But I break it down in terms of like I always try and say like, okay, 20. If you want to say carve out $20 a month for that, that's like 2 cocktails here in LA. Like if you can't sacrifice 2 cocktails for like the greater good. I only go to exclusive Holly Fancy Woods.
I was thinking it was pretty cheap.
Oh, really? LA kids, come on, we're gonna have a fun time.
Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, or whatever, or like 4 coffees, right?
Sure.
Whatever, 4 lattes. Huh? And if you can't sacrifice that for like a greater cause, like I don't know, you have to look at your true altruism especially if you claim to be an altruistic person. But that's minor, but it helps. The premise being, if everyone did that, we'd have a lot more money to battle entities like the Koch brothers.
Yeah.
Who they side with the villain in Captain Planet. That's who they identify with. But it becomes overwhelming. So I just, those are good ones that I like to contemplate. But you do things outside of that. You sometimes use my social media platform for. I don't really have Instagram anymore. I think Twitter's the worst thing that ever happened to like our consciousness as a whole. And I hate Facebook, and so I deleted them all, even though Instagram's kind of the same thing, so I'm a hypocrite. Who isn't? You have a little bit of vocality. I also think it's important to change your own habits.
Yeah.
Again, if you can't change your own habits, how do you expect other people to do? I've given up nearly all meat. Occasionally I'll have fish, and like at Thanksgiving I'm gonna have turkey, but outside of that I keep it down. Cows.
Is that Canadian Thanksgiving or is that American Thanksgiving?
Dude, I can do both. I let myself do both.
Oh, that's an extra turkey.
Right, yeah. Whatever. I'm just saying it's flexitarian. It's not 100% because if you live the 100% rule and you fail, you end up hating yourself, and then you fall off the wagon because you hate yourself so much. Right. But it turns out cows, they fart a lot of methane. Mm-hmm. They shit a lot of untreated sewage. They waller in their own shit. Then you go down this whole route of like, man, it sucks. Yeah. We're pretty awful to critters.
So walk the talk is basically what you're talking about.
Walk the talk.
Yep.
And not everyone has Hollywood cuck level of money, snowflake dollars, let's call it. But I do try and I've made some investments like solar desalination and electric airplanes, and I do carbon offsetting when I'm flying my own airplane. Spread it around. Drive a Bolt. Nice. See every man's Tesla. And walk the talk. But it's pretty. My view on it, when you really get bogged down in the scientific facts of here are everybody's projections, and then you look around and see this is what everybody's doing, it does not line up.
Yeah.
But my view on the whole thing is I'm going to go down swinging.
Yeah.
If I have the mentality of I'm going to get to Hollywood and be a famous asshole, then I'm going to do what I can, because that's better than just saying like, fuck it, let the world burn.
Yeah.
I think. It helps me live better inside.
Beautiful. Flying. Is there a part of why fly? I mean, I
don't know. Why fly? Why not, man?
Why not, bro?
Till you get it. Here, take this.
That's right.
Here, drink up, man. I'll tell you how to fly.
No, why? That's a very. I don't know.
Why fly?
I don't know many private pilots.
I know
people have planes here.
Yeah,
but,
people have planes. I sort of, I got into aviation early 20s. I mean, I got into it through my love of history and military history and learning about like World War II and like Spitfires and Messerschmitts and stuff, and then getting into like simulators, like a very robust joystick simulator setup at home. Yeah. And then eventually saying, you know what, I'm gonna do this for real. I wish I'd have got into it like 5 years earlier, because if I'd have been 15 and into aviation, Canada has things called an entity called the Air Cadets, which is kind of like Boy Scouts for the Air Force, I guess.
Oh wow.
Not to say that I would have joined, but I could have got some time up in the air and like, I don't know, experienced it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got my license, had to overcome a lot of motion sickness, could only go up for like 10 minutes at a time before like having to settle down.
Wow.
And now, it's incredible. It's so fun. The United States is a great place to fly. A lot of opportunity for private pilots to just get in their plane and go somewhere. There's a lot of small airports around. Being in the Southwest is perfect. It's nearly never a bad time for weather-wise.
What about costs? I think there's a lot of folks at home. My understanding is that it's actually more affordable than you think, and so people it's actually doable. But again, affordable. Let's just acknowledge that there's a very broad spectrum of people listening to the show. So
exactly.
So just keep that in mind. But
I will try and take it out of.
It just sounds
Hollywood
fancier.
prick.
Yeah, I think it sounds fancier than it actually is. And so maybe you can shine some light on that for us.
Okay, no problem. Depending on where you are, LA is always going to be more expensive than buttfuck nowhere. Not to take away from buttfuck nowhere. But you're looking at like a good chunk of money to learn how to get your pilot's license. You have to invest probably around minimum $10,000, which is a lot, right?
Yeah,
that's just being honest.
And you can invest it over what period of time?
However long it takes.
There you go. That's my point.
I got my pilot's license in a year, but there's people that pace themselves over multiple years to take it. You can buy your own plane for the price of a car, $20,000, $35,000. I would strongly recommend that the A&P does a lot of work to it.
Yes.
But there's also this whole category in the United States called experimentals. And if you have a well-made, professionally built experimental, you can save yourself some money. I'm too many people depend on me for their livelihood, so I'm going to buy a certified aircraft. You can also do shared ownership. You and some friends, or you can buy a share in an already existed sort of pairing and buy and everybody's owning this one aircraft. There are also flying clubs where you just essentially, you maybe pay a monthly or you rent it kind of, but at the member rate. Those are different in the sense that you have to schedule it. There'll probably be some online schedule where you book it for a weekend, and that's totally fine. If you can afford an airplane, I tell you, it is pretty sweet to just be like, I want to go here today. And you drive to the airport, you take it out, you start it up, and you go. That's very, very fun. But it's not insane. If you just look at $1 million aircraft, which there are plenty, and go, how can I afford that? Yes, that becomes insane. But go on controller or trade a plane, and you'll see there's plenty of planes that are not that much.
So why fly? Go back to the original question. What is it? Is it freedom? Is it just? Is it an escapism? Is it joy? Is it travel?
I like a lot of it, including the going through checklists and switching things and starting it up and checks and all that. I like that even.
Wow.
I like the look of planes. I like the propellers and the sounds and the history and all that. I like the radio jargon, Whiteman Tower, November 95, Foxtrot Delta,
We'll do that again.
With India at the North Hangars ready for taxi to runway 12. Go ahead, Whiteman Tower, 95 Foxtrot Delta, taxi 12 via Alpha. I like all that stuff, right? I love it.
What just happened?
I know, exactly. When you're first learning it, you're hearing the radio, you're like, I have no idea what anyone's saying. And then you get used to it and you can pick out everything.
Yeah.
I kind of like the rules. I love rules and the charts and the airspace and all that kind of stuff. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
And there is something pretty cool about just getting up in the air. It's different than driving. You're dealing with all the axis, right?
Three-dimensional.
Oh, it's 3D, dude. And you can go to places. I mean, I went to Zion National Park. I would have never gone. No, not for lunch, but for like a few days. And I probably wouldn't have gone there if I had to drive the 8 hours or whatever it would have taken. Maybe longer. I don't know. But I did, and it was absolutely beautiful. Or I'd go up to San Francisco next time Silicon Valley goes on. I'm gonna fly there, and there's nothing cool. I shot a Verizon spot at San Bernardino Airport. I flew to work. I taxied up. I got a fucking van. I got driven to set. I can't express to you how baller that felt. I squealed.
Is having a whole bottle.
He got not as baller. That's premium. No, I was like taxiing to the thing. I was like squealing alone in my cockpit at 6 in the morning. It was cool. And there's scary situations. I just recently got caught in some turbulence and I was bumping all around.
Wind shear.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
I learned that almost the hard way.
Ooh.
And bumping around in airports and kind of making a sketchy landing where you can slide over the place, or making a greaser and you slide on in and you navy it, they say.
Navy it?
Yeah. Because in the Navy,
I get it.
Or in Greece, I like the Greece. And anyway, get in there. When you're good at it, some days you're really good at it. Some days you get behind and it's a little frustrating. Some days you're really good at it, and that feels good too.
Is it in part? It sounds very involved to me, which is there's a lot of licensing and rules and
systems.
Yeah, systems and aircraft and equipment and fear and danger. There's risk. So are all of these things? This is a personal question. Feel free to ignore it, except you have to answer it. Is this a thing that is just very comprehensive? It excites lots of parts of you. It's involved, and is it related to your profession? Is it a way? It's like all this thing that I can just get in here and get lost in it. And it's sort of a beautiful.
I can get lost in it. I would say maybe there's some qualities that overlap in terms of profession, but to me, I view it as escape.
Yeah, well, that's actually what I mean. So not I get over, and I can just get in here, and I'm like, there's always charts. There's always a new license. There's always another airport to discover, a new place to fly.
Yes, it's an opportunity to daydream.
Yeah,
and live the daydream, because I'm a bordering video game addict.
Okay.
At times, I would say full-blown addict, and now it's a little bit more under control. And that was always an escapism that I really liked. It's a solo world that you can go. Maybe you have friends, but you don't even see them. You just hear them. And I love video games, but the downside to video games is that you have this experience, but it only exists. It's done when you stop. You don't have anything tangible. It's a memory, and probably because you play so much, it's not even a clearly defined memory. But you know, having a passion that is more tangible is a much more visceral experience. For a while, I got into woodworking. I'm by no means Nick Offerman, but I made a few pieces, and it was really exciting because you did this thing. You listen to podcasts as you're making all the measurements. At the end, you got a table or something. It's neat.
Yeah.
And I think it's, you know, to only do acting or to only do comedy, especially comedy, you're supposed to be a mirror. Art is supposed to be a mirror upon which life gets reflected back onto itself. And if you haven't experienced life or other elements of life, I don't know how you can be a deep artist or comedian, right? Like what are you going to comment on? Yeah. You can't just do bits about comedy. That's boring.
Right.
You know, you have bits about relationships or life or various things. Not that I've got 40 minutes of private pilot material. Not that
God,
happens.
He kills. Wow, yeah. That private pilot routine.
No, not. Yeah. Wait till I get on my FAA rant. Hilarious.
Well, you're getting close to the end of that water,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna let you off the hook. Is there you've been both really gracious and given advice, and also sort of walked around it a little bit. Is there anything like there are a lot of people who watch and listen, mostly?
A lot of people?
Yeah.
What are we talking? 2,000 subscribers? What's the number?
We're in the 25 to 30 million download range. So
potatoes and peanuts.
But conceptually, is like you've both like been really willing to give advice on some particular things.
Too willing.
Also, and you've also been reluctant. So what?
Oh, have I?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh,
a
okay.
little bit. Let's just like, well, to each his own.
I thought I'd been yappering.
Yappering. It's been. But is there any like? You have a thing. You've done some great stuff. Is there a sort of a theme that if you're talking to other folks, just pretend that there are a lot of people listening who are looking for some piece of inspiration to help them get over the next sort of hurdle. And you've talked a lot about like don't be too optimistic because you're about to get.
Well, that's I understand, but you have to be also at the same time. How do you measure expectations, but while still expecting that you want it, expecting that you'll get it?
Believing in yourself.
Confidence and expectations. That is a great question. If I had the answer to that, I'd be a much happier individual. And I wouldn't need to take my daily lamotrigine, as previously discussed.
You're buying time here. That's great. I'm watching the sketch comedy in action.
My hilarious comedy routines. How do you? I think everybody's figuring that out. But in terms of what's going on lately, you gotta have some confidence in yourself. I mean, truth be told, I love a good self-deprecation, and I love to point out faults in my performance. That's a favorite pastime of mine. But in the end, I think if you ask me if it's just me in the room, I think I'm pretty good.
You're by yourself now, right now.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty good. I think there's room for improvement, but I welcome the challenges to improve. I think it's a mentality switch, as we talked about earlier, of seeing those challenges and welcoming that, because either you will learn from your failure or you will fucking beat the challenge, and that will feel very, very good. But if you see these challenges as guaranteed opportunities for failure, it's very hard to stay above the water on that.
Yeah.
That's an arduous path you've chosen for yourself. And there's been plenty of times, even lately, where I've been backstage. I hosted BlizzCon recently. It was a fucking mess. And I remember, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This, like, midway through the show, I was like, this is bad. And you know, but in the end, you know, it's a challenge. You learn. You know, you can't all be like batting 1,000 baseball metaphor. But you know, that's not going to shake me. That's not. In my mind, I deserve to be here, and in my mind, I think those challenges are little fights that you do, that with my warrior mentality, I shall vanquish. But you know, you're gonna have downs, you're gonna have dips. I mean, Jesus, you know, like shed many a tear, wrung many a hand over this business and over my place, not only within this business, but life. I mean, life gets me down a lot lately. That's another fun thing about getting older is you just have more perspective and your cone of vision sees more, and you just go, oh God, I wish I could unsee. I wish I had tunnel vision again, because this sucks. You take a wider swath of the world and take it all into account. It's a bummer. But you also get that within the career, you know.
Yeah.
If you, whatever visualization, sometimes I see it as a ladder. You know, you climb each rung, climb each little bit of success, and now that you're higher up, you see more, or you see where you once were, and all the things that you thought you needed then are inconsequential. You've realized. I'm off topic, but
this is beautiful. It is. It's like it's how to live in this state that we're all attached to, whether we acknowledge it or not, and especially if you're trying to do something that scares you, which we encourage everyone to do, because that's part of the, you know, the obstacle is the way.
Yeah, and everybody is in the pursuit of happiness. Everyone's trying to get their happiness, and you know, a lot of my pursuit of happiness has nothing to do with this career.
Yeah.
I mean, marriage is a bitch. Like it's great and it's hard. Like just that is enough. That's a full-time job, right? So kids, I can't even imagine. Fuck that shit. I plan on removing my testicles tomorrow.
I have no kids. I decided to.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't know, maybe, who knows? If there's a mistake, I don't know. That's
for what it's worth. Not required.
Oh, really? Shit, I gotta cancel the appointment. There was like 5,000 down payment, which sucks.
Non-refundable.
Non-refundable. The doctor's a bit of a shyster. Yeah, but there's all these other things, but everyone's in the pursuit of happiness, and it goes back to some of the stuff I touched on earlier. If this thing's genuinely year after year after year not getting you happy, whatever your pursuit is, I mean, there's something to be said for determination, and there's something to be said for insanity.
Yeah.
Right? And some people do the thing they thought they were meant to do on the weekend.
Yeah.
I daydream about me being 15 years old, signing up to Air Cadets, and being a fucking Kiowa helicopter pilot. I daydream about that.
It's killer.
I daydream about that. I also daydream about 1940, me being like part of the Spitfire Squadron and defending the cliffs of Dover. I can do that virtually on the weekend, and I can do the other thing on the weekend because I did this thing that now affords me to, right?
Yeah.
You don't always have to be the professional race driver. You can be a CPA who has a reasonably priced GT that he races in the open circuit.
Yeah.
And you find you may not be absolutely 100% passionate about the thing that you kind of have to do, but take it from me, who got the thing that he wanted. It's the dream. I'm living the dream. Some days suck. Not every day I'm jacking off in a fucking orgy and everybody's paying me more money than I can imagine, and agents are like, what part in Hollywood do you want? You know? Even in the thing that I'm happy, there's arduousness, there's things, there's days you go, I can't believe it's normal to work minimum 12 hours in this business. I don't have a life. I get to do this thing, but I always thought performing was started at 8 p.m., but here I am, it's 5 in the morning and I'm trying to do a scene. What the fuck is this shit? Yeah. It's so weird, and plus you meet people who are terrible. I've met terrible, terrible people. Yeah. Awful people, mean people, inconsiderate people. You meet trolls in this business, terrible trolls. Yeah. People that make you go, God, humanity is dark. And you're all kinds of damage, and look at all the broken pieces that are falling off you. It's crazy. My point is, you gotta find your happiness, and and as long as you don't have to fuck people over to get it, it's very worthwhile pursuing.
There is no better end to an interview than that. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Of course.
I really, really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen.
I hope I didn't crawl up my own ass just then.
No, you crushed it. It was amazing. Folks at home, thanks, Thomas. Really appreciate it. And I'll probably see you again maybe tomorrow. Bye.